will join us now to talk about this and more. House Speaker Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, it's good to see you. It's been a while. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Can't imagine why any Republican would not want to support something like that. I don't know where it would go from there. I don't really understand the other side either with not requiring proof of citizenship to vote, especially with what we've seen at the southern border. It just plays into all the conspiracy theories that's what Democrats are trying to do here. So the whole thing is confounding to most U.S. citizenry, Mr. Speaker. But why do some Republicans, they just don't like CRs in general? Is that what it is?
I think that's it for a handful of them. Here's the thing. Congress has an important and immediate obligation to do two big things. One is to keep the government funded. Obviously, that's our responsibility, and also to ensure the security of our elections. The CR is the vehicle to do that, and that is why, because we owe this to the American people, we're going to add that and bring it to the floor today to move that forward. Look, I'm going to try with everything within me to get this passed because we owe it to the people. I've been traveling the country nonstop, Joe. I've been at campaign events so far in 206 cities across 40 states in the last several months. No matter where we are, in every public setting, the first or second question from the audience is, can we count on the security of the election? And Congress has an obligation to do this. It's about a 90% issue on the polls. It's not partisan. Only U.S. citizens should vote in U.S. elections. That, to your point, should not be controversial. So we're going to move that forward. We're going to run the play today, and I certainly hope that it passes.
And then what would happen? Probably not going to pass, but let's say it does. Then what would happen? What are the prospects of it actually going all the way to where it needs to do to keep the government open? Because Republicans are not going to want anything that accidentally or inadvertently shuts down the government 49, 48 days before the election.
Right. And if we pass this today, we will be funding the government, and it will extend it for 6 months. So we have time to solve and resolve all these issues. And after the election, I'm convinced that we'll have unified government. We are going to grow the House majority. We are going to take back the Senate for the Republican Party. And I believe Donald J. Trump is going back for a second term. And so in the first quarter of next year, we will be able to responsibly address the spending issues and all the things and the priorities that we want to do in those appropriations processes. So I think this is a very important thing. If we pass it today, we send it over to the Senate. Chuck Schumer then has it on his desk. If the government shuts down and he refuses to move that bill, it's on him. The Democrats will have shut the government down, not the Republicans. We're doing our job.
Well, the Senate has passed their own. We'll look into passing their own version, and it will go back and forth. I mean, the reality is you could have a shutdown in 13 days. What happens in that scenario? And I'm asking also because a strategist earlier this morning said, what's your plan B?
Look, I'm the quarterback on the field in the middle of the game. We are calling the play and we're running it. So I'm not addressing plan Bs. We got a big playbook. It's full of ideas. No one needs to worry. But we have to do the right thing. And I'm convinced this is on principle and on the Constitution, the exact right thing. This is an actual live fire problem because what's happening around the country right now is that the millions and millions of illegals who have come across that border since the borders are Kamala Harris and Joe Biden opened it wide, is that some of them are trying to register to participate in the election. Many of them. We know 6 or 7 states have already done their own audits. They've proven you've got thousands and thousands of illegals on the voter rolls right now. And here's the problem. You know, if you have just a small percentage of those millions of people that try to participate, you can throw the outcome of the election. You can throw the outcome of who has the majority in the House. I have a colleague who won her seat in Congress in 2020 by 6 votes. I've got another Republican colleague, won his race by about 250 votes. It's easy to throw these things off, and you could even affect the outcome of a presidential cycle, depending on where all those illegals are participating. Some of these swing states are a real concern. So we have to make sure that before someone registers to vote, they prove that they are a U.S. citizen because that is existing federal law. And there's no mechanism currently for that to happen. That's why the SAVE Act is so important.
Yeah, 43,000 votes in I don't know how many swing states, and that was the presidential election. It's given all we've been through, we don't need the integrity of our elections being questioned. That's why it's so confounding to most Americans to not understand why this this. Well, I guess we do understand why one party doesn't want to do what. Senate Republicans supposedly, Mr. Speaker, are getting frustrated, and I don't know. I know there's something someone actually called a whip. I don't know what that involves. The whipping has been totally ineffective. We saw what happened with the prior speaker trying to get a new speaker. These guys are not. These cats are not wrangling. I said cats now. I'm hitting all the hot button issues. But it's very difficult for Republicans to get everyone in this, and Democrats to get everyone on the same page. And I know you're keeping a stiff upper lip and you don't have a plan B. But if it doesn't work, then Senate Republicans might have to work with Democrats, right, to get it done. And then I don't know what that does for you and your speakership.
We're going to get the job done. We always do, and we haven't let anybody down yet. But we have to run the right bill at the right time on the right principle, and that's what this is. Look, we do have the smallest majority in the modern era, U.S. history. Everyone knows for about 5 months we had a one-vote margin in the House. So it's been tough sledding at times. But I'm very optimistic. The reason I'm in such a good mood is I'm convinced we are going to grow the House majority in November, and we'll have much easier sledding ahead, to put it that way. So we've been working really hard. We've got extraordinary candidates recruited all around the country. They're going to flip some of these blue Democrat seats to red, and then our incumbents are going to be reelected, and we're going to have a governing majority to move the ball forward. And we have big plans for the next Congress, a very aggressive first 100 days agenda for the Congress and beyond. We don't put the cart before the horse, but we got to be prepared to lead, and I'm really looking forward to that time.
When former President Trump yesterday said, "Oh, get your beautiful salt back," were you like, did you know that was coming? That would, 2017, that some people think that maybe some of the tailwinds we're still seeing in American business might be because of the corporate tax cut. I happen to be one of them. I don't know what other pro-growth policies we put into effect. We haven't really put any in. But that would certainly exacerbate, if you extend the 2017 cuts and you put take away the cap on salt, that's really going to add to the deficit. Have you thought about that?
Sure, I've thought about it, but I do think it's a combination of steps that we would look to take. We want to use the tax code to really build investment and opportunity, and we know how to do that. We demonstrated it to your point, during the first couple years of the Trump administration when we brought about the greatest economy in the history of the world, not just the U.S. We did that, Joe, because we implemented the principles and the policies that we've always espoused, and that is less regulation and lower taxes. It's a pretty simple formula, and it has a great result. So we want to expand upon the Trump era tax cuts, and we want to do massive regulatory reform. One of the problems we have right now across the free market, right, is that the federal government these agencies have been weaponized against the industries that they're supposed to be assisting and regulating in a meaningful way. Under the Biden-Harris administration, they have almost smothered the free market. I mean, it's like the boot of government is on the neck of job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers who are just trying to do their jobs. And they've made it almost impossible. So we're going to reverse that. If you get Republican leadership in the White House, the Senate, and the House, unified government, we will put this thing on turbo. You will see massive regulatory reform. We have a great opportunity. The Supreme Court has overturned the Chevron doctrine. We have all the talk about political tailwinds in a moment of opportunity. That's what we'll see in the first quarter of next year. And you're going to see a lot of change that I think will really incentivize more opportunity, more investment, more American manufacturing, detangle from China, get the border under control, and stop the illegal immigration, and stop the maddening government spending that's been out of control for the last 4 years.
Okay, on that note, Speaker Johnson, government spending that's been out of control. The front page of the Wall Street Journal today lays out how plans from both candidates, Vice President Harris and former President Trump, really blow out spending in any way, shape, or form. The things that they have said on the campaign trail, the things that they are adding to. Let me just read you a list of your candidates' proposals over the last several months. You tell me if you agree with him on all of these proposals or if there's some daylight between the two of you. He would eliminate taxes on overtime pay, money that's coming in from tips, Social Security benefits, no more taxes on that. He would eliminate the SALT proposals, the caps that Joe just mentioned, eliminate or cut taxes on manufacturing in the United States for any business who's manufacturing their goods here, pay for new parents' expenses. Do you agree with all of those plans? Because they're going to cost something like $6 trillion.
Look, I agree with
to
all.
217.
Yeah, I agree with all those ideas, and I think most people listening and watching this morning nod their head and say that sounds like a good idea. Now, do we need to figure out how to pay for it? Of course, and that's where responsible governance comes in. But I do think that we can implement a lot of these ideas on this menu of items to really bring relief to the American people. I mean, what President Trump is talking about on the campaign trail is that he wants to do right by middle-class, hardworking Americans. He wants to do right by seniors. I mean, these are the demographics that need that level of assistance. And how do we assist them? It's not by government
giveaways. But how do you
giveaways.
pay for it? You said it yourself.
Well,
how do you pay for it?
Right. Well, you have to bring about a pro-growth economy. And you do that with a combination of aggressive use of the tax code and reduction in government regulation. That's how we get the economy going. You know, Joe said a moment ago he thinks the residual effects of the corporate tax cuts, for example, from the Trump administration, are one of the reasons that we're still afloat in the economy. But I think really the regulatory reform, in addition to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in the first Trump administration, our efforts at regulatory reform are really what got the economy humming. Also, energy policy. I mean, that's a huge distinction between Harris's plan, or if she even has a plan, she won't talk about it. I don't think she understands the talking points she's saying anyway. But Donald Trump wants to return to American energy dominance. I talk to our allies around the world, our European allies, for example. They are desperate for LNG exports from America. We turn that sector back on, you're in a totally different stratosphere with regard to economic growth. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris turned it off. Literally, they paused LNG exports. They've declared war on fossil fuels in our oil and gas industry. We got to bring sanity back to this, and Donald Trump will. And I think when he institutes these policies, we're going to be in a completely different situation than we are right now, and we'll have the opportunity to do a lot of these things and be very aggressive to help the people.
There's nothing unprecedented anymore, nothing surprising anymore. But watching the presidential election, Mr. Speaker, do you think it's possible to take this right to Election Day and really not see Vice President Harris face questioning, just random questioning for interviews? Is it possible that you can do that and it can be successful and everybody just goes, oh yeah, well, we're not really sure what's going to happen, but anything's better than Donald Trump? That could happen, and there may not be any other interviews between now and Election Day. And it might just be she's not Joe Biden, she's not Donald Trump, but she does become president.
It's a frightening thought, and we have 48 days now to expose what her true record is. Kamala Harris is engaging in a campaign of fantasy over fact. She wants people to believe that she's some sort of, moderate policy wonk, and everyone who's watched her career knows that is not true. She had the most woke progressive left voting record in the Senate of the modern era. She was left of Bernie Sanders. She is truly a San Francisco radical, and her policies are Marxist by design. That President Trump was exactly right in their debate when he labeled her a Marxist. That's not an epithet. That is an accurate description of what she would want to do. I mean, look at the litany of promises that she's made. She wants government giveaways for everything. It would completely tank the U.S. economy. She's not a serious policy person. She's saying whatever she thinks needs to be said right now to be elected. It is an act. She went out on that debate stage and she delivered lines that she had spent 50 days memorizing because she didn't do any interviews or debates or anything before that. And she delivered the lines well. That's congratulations. But it is an act. It's as if she's an actor on a stage in a play. But this is serious times. We're in the most desperate, most dangerous times since World War II on the economy, on the foreign policy front, with regard to the idea that China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are all coordinating together and seeing this as an opportunity. Our allies are nervous. Our adversaries are empowered, and we need strong leadership back in the White House. This is not a game. This election is for all the marbles. And so everyone who understands this reality needs to not take anything for granted. We've got to get out, get our friends to vote, make sure our friends, our neighbors are educated on the issues. This is not about personality. It's about policy. And whoever is elected brings a whole policy set with them. This is serious, serious business.
All right, Mr. Speaker. In addition to the Fed decision, we've got the CR. So pretty busy Wednesday, and thanks for all your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to be with you as always.